Hello and welcome to Shoreline Music Monthly. This is episode 102 of our little show where we bring talented area songwriters into our studio and then drop them in your living room. We're dealing with actual real winter for the first time in maybe a decade, I don't know, but hopefully you all are dug out. We made it here and hopefully all is well on your end. This is also, we're taping on National Kazoo Day, so this is important. But I'm very, very excited. I got to get right to our guest because, as I was just explaining to him, I'm going to have to watch just how many stories I let him spin because it's there's a lot. There's a lot. But I'm very, very happy to have in the studio with me today Jim Beloff. Welcome.
Oh, thank you so much, Mark.
I'm so glad to have you here. I do, admittedly, not the world's deepest research into folks, but my Lord, I came up with, personally, 11 CDs, 4 DVDs, and I stopped counting the list of books. It's somewhere in the 20, 30.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff.
And they all seem to center around the same little instrument.
Right, right.
So, what brought you to what brought you to music for one? I guess I saw you were. It sounds like you started in musical theater.
Yeah. Well, I think it was my folks, my dad in particular. You know, my folks both thought that my sister and I should play an instrument, like many families. And the piano didn't take, the violin didn't take, and then my dad, I give him credit, he tried a different, instead of pushing, he tried to pull. And so he took guitar lessons when I was, maybe 9, 10, in the hopes that I would hear him and then eventually say, gee, that sounds kind of nice. Can I, try it? And that's exactly what happened. So instead of forcing it, I came to it.
Oh, nice.
And
a wise man.
Yeah, he was a wise man. Both my folks were psych majors. So anyway, it stuck, and I started writing songs really soon after getting a guitar. And so music has been part of my life for forever, it seems. But when I was in college, I got really interested in musical theater. And it was while I was in college that I had this amazing experience being an intern on a musical written by Leonard Bernstein and Alan J. Lerner about the White House called 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. And I traveled with the show out of town in Philadelphia and Washington, and came back with it to New York, and it closed after 7 performances. It was at the time considered one of the greatest Broadway flops ever.
Oh dear.
But it was an amazing, amazing experience to be part of it.
I bet.
Yeah.
So now you're in college, you're already running shows on Broadway.
Well, hardly, but
yeah.
But I'd had that taste of that, and also getting to watch these two extraordinary talents, work to try to save it. Oh. That was also an extraordinary experience.
Were you still playing guitar at this point?
I was, and I was a musical theater major in college, and my sort of quote unquote thesis was writing a show. And for that, I wrote it on piano just to see what it was like to write a show on piano. But I was mostly writing always on the guitar. Mm. And then after I graduated, I came to New York City with the hopes of writing Broadway shows, and eventually wrote a bunch of children's musicals. And that was very satisfying, but never got close to Broadway. And then got a job in the magazine business. And eventually got a job working for Billboard magazine, which of course
music is still
rumming
through your life.
Oh yeah, and it was so cool to work for the trade paper for the recording industry, and so got to meet some heroes of mine and go to the Grammys, and used to go to Nashville, all the music centers. I was on the advertising side, and then in 1991 they asked me and of course my wife Liz if we would consider moving to LA because they needed somebody to kind of run that office. And we loved the city. We had a loft on 29th Street, and we just were so in love with living in New York City. But we went. And Lizzie was doing trailers and teasers for movies, so it made a certain amount of sense for her career.
A lot of it's based right out of there.
It's all based
Sure,
out there.
yeah.
So we reluctantly left New York City, went to LA, and we had developed this love for flea markets while we were in Manhattan. And there are a lot of flea markets in LA, and the weather's always beautiful, of course. And so soon after we moved there, we go to the Rose Bowl Flea Market in Pasadena, and I find this Martin tenor ukulele on a blanket, and on a whim, I bought it.
Your life changed forever.
And I now tell people, be careful what you buy at flea markets because it can change your life. What a joy to sing for you. It's my favorite thing to do. It's a privilege to be here. Share a laugh and share a tear and love. Love is everything. If I'm gonna sing love. Once a storm way out at sea set a course straight for me. Someone said we'd be okay. In the end, it turned away, and life's a mystery. What will be, will be. Sing love, love, love. Love is everything. If I'm gonna sing love. It's the be-all and the end-all when we sing about love. It's the alpha and omega when we sing about love. It's a privilege to be here. Share a laugh and share a tear and love. Love is everything. If I'm gonna sing love. Love is everything. If I'm gonna sing love. Sing love. Sing love. I'm working for Billboard, and then we bought all of these out of print ukulele songbooks from, like, the 40s and the 50s. And I'm thinking, this is pre-internet, I'm thinking maybe there are like, a dozen people who still play the ukulele, since Tiny Tim sort of killed it for everybody. Although I got to meet and spend some time with Tiny Tim and came to really admire him in many ways, so I hate dissing him. But anyway, I fell in love with this instrument, and I thought, maybe just for fun, let's put out one songbook for the 100 people who still play it. And
you found out there were more than 100.
Well, and that got us to Hal Leonard, who became and still is our distributor out of the Midwest. They're the biggest music book, distributor in the world.
I remember the name. Yeah, sure.
And so we did our very first book with them in 1992, and it did better than anyone thought. So they said, do a how to play, and we were launched. And over 1 million copies of our Jumpin' Jim's ukulele songbooks are in print at this point.
Now, do you still have the Martin?
Yes, of course.
Okay, all right. Just want to make sure.
Oh, yeah.
Well, sometimes those things slip through the fingers somewhere along the line, and it's that regret that but glad you still have her.
Oh, yes.
Now, when did you start recording? Because you do like original song CDs.
Yeah.
I mean, one just came out. Very good, by the way.
Thank you.
Enjoying it very much.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Well, the interesting thing was, at the beginning, it really wasn't about, becoming a publishing company. I started writing songs immediately on the uke. I was a longtime songwriter, as I've mentioned, musical theater and that sort of thing. So I'd written a lot of songs on the guitar. But for some strange reason, and I was a pretty good guitarist. With a uke, of course, you lose 2 strings, but somehow or another, my songwriting seemed to work well on the uke. And so it was as if I'd found my musical partner in a way. It seemed like my songs really breathed on a uke more than they did on a guitar. And so I started to write on the uke, and that was my focus for a long time, until I started to realize, wow, there's no materials for this instrument. Let's see what we could do there. And so I was doing I was doing a number of different tracks. One was publishing songbooks, one was writing songs, and the other really at that time was promoting, because the uke was kind of considered sort of off the pop culture grid, and I'm the associate publisher of Billboard magazine, and it became catnip for the press, and so I was on NPR, All Things Considered and Morning Edition, and suddenly we were getting lots of requests and interviews, and so the story of this guy from Billboard who's out to revive this sort of seemingly dead instrument became an interesting story, and so we just kind of got caught up with that.
Yeah, that would be a natural story to pursue.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
So now you're writing original songs on the uke, so you start recording them as well.
Oh yeah.
And could we just touch on, because when I was looking through, I saw everything from Leonard Bernstein, who we've hit on, to Spinal Tap. I've seen a picture of you with Spinal Tap, Eddie Vedder in there. But again, there's a book, an autobiography, which has all the stories in it. So we don't have time for all of them.
Right.
But could you just, I saw George Harrison's name pop up, who I think for fans of our show, maybe the most interesting.
Yeah, that was a great moment. Maybe the greatest of them all. And that came about because around 1999, 98, I was about ready to leave Billboard and go into this crazy ukulele business full-time with my wife. And my brother-in-law, my sister's husband, sort of was fascinated by what we were doing. And I kept telling him, because he was an engineer, and I kept saying, one problem with encouraging the growth of this instrument is that there aren't a lot of good ukes out there. If you went to a music store in those days, there wasn't a lot to pick from. And so he got interested and designed what became known as the fluke ukulele, which are still being made up in Sheffield, Massachusetts, and that's what I'll be playing later. And,
nice. I have their SB.
Yeah. Oh, you do?
I do.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. So, so we introduced at the NAMM show, this big music trade show, in 1999, the very first, sort of prototype of the Fluke. And somebody walks by our booth, and we have a few of our books out, songbooks out, and I'd written the very first book on the history of the ukulele. No one had ever done it before, and so I'm not a historian, but I ended up writing it, and it was filled with 4-color photographs called The Ukulele: A Visual History. Guy walks by the booth and he says, "Oh, my friend George gave me that book." And so Lizzie and I were in the booth at that moment, and we said, "Well, that's very nice. Thank your friend George for giving you that book." And he said, "In fact, George gave that book out to all his friends this Christmas." And we said, "Well, that's wonderful." And he said, "Well, George Harrison." And so it turned out that George Harrison was a uke fan. He loved ukes. And when the book came out, he bought a bunch of them and gave them out as gifts to all his friends. And then this guy, Danny Farrington, who was kind of a luthier to a lot of rock stars. He'd made ukes for Linda Ronstadt and Stephen Bishop and George Harrison. And so he says, "Well, George is in town, and I bet he'd love to come by your house and see your uke collection." So Lizzie and we exchange, contact info, and then we don't tell anyone because we are convinced that Beatles don't come to your house. So we kind of forgot about it, and then about 4 days later, the phone rings, and it's Danny Farrington, and he says, "We're on our way." And at around 1 p.m, in walks Danny Farrington and George Harrison into our home in LA, and we spent the next 4 hours playing ukes with George Harrison.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's something. That is something else. And there's a lot more stories in his autobiography, so look it up. If folks wanted to find you, what's the best way for them if they wanted to find these books, find where you're playing? I know it's too quick. We can't tell them you're playing downtown Clinton this coming weekend.
Yeah.
It won't air by then. But
Right.
if folks want to find in the future where they might get a hold of you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm on, our website is Flea Market Music.
Flea markets.
Yes. We became Flea because of the origin story. So FLEA, fleamarketmusic.com. And then I'm on Facebook. That's really the only social media I do, Jim Beloff Music. And that's where I post all these things.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Boy, I love a big band, especially when it swings. Orchestras are thrilling, love to hear those strings. Love to sing for thousands in a concert hall. But lately, I've been thinking, what's the harm in thinking small? Give me a ukulele and you, a ukulele and you. Just give me a uke and a song to sing, and you to sing it too. Give me a ukulele and you, no big hullabaloo. When push comes to shove, you know what I love, a ukulele and you. Man, I love a mansion sitting on a hill, servants by the dozens bending to my will, and a grand piano 'neath a chandelier. But lately, I've been thinking, what is music to my ear is just a ukulele and you, a ukulele and you. Just give me a uke and a song to sing, and you to sing it too. give me a ukulele and you. No big hullabaloo. When push comes to shove, you know what I love, a ukulele and you. Gee, I love a party, mixing with the stars, ladies in their diamonds, men with their cigars, all the pretty people always having fun. But lately I've been thinking, after all is said and done, give me a ukulele and you. A ukulele and you. Just give me a uke and a song to sing, and you to sing it too. Give me a ukulele and you. No big hullabaloo. When push comes to shove, you know what I love, a ukulele and ukulele, a ukulele and you.
All right, folks, I am back with Jim Beloff, and he has foolishly agreed to play From the Hip with me, that silly little game where we just ask, you know, well, it's all about music and food for the most part, but just things that may not normally come up.
Okay.
What is the first national level act you ever saw live?
Oh, wow. Gosh. I don't know, maybe Todd Rundgren or Stevie Wonder or Joni Mitchell.
Okay. How many states have you lived in?
3, Connecticut, New York, and California.
Okay. Who is your favorite uke player?
Lyle Ritz.
Okay, I do not know that name.
Yeah, but he's got quite a story.
Okay, I will have to look him up.
Yes.
Is he still with us?
No.
No?
No, but he's kind of considered the grandfather of ukulele jazz.
Oh, interesting.
And he also was the acoustic bass player for the Wrecking Crew.
Wow.
So he's on, Pet Sounds.
Everything.
He's on everything.
Wow.
He's the one doing, You've Lost That Loving Feeling, and Sonny and Cher, and the Monkees, and everything in between.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you recall what the first music you purchased with your own money was?
Yes, I do. Good question. It was Buffalo Springfield Retrospective.
Oh, that's a very good album.
Yeah.
It wasn't the first I bought with my own money, but I did get to it at some point.
I guess that dates me.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I bought mine in a used bin.
Right.
Can't even read. Oh, which coast has better pizza?
Definitely East Coast.
You are lucky you answered that correctly.
Yes.
Cannoli. Do we eat cannoli? Do we like cannoli?
I don't.
Okay. Good man. Good man. It's, I don't know, it's a weird personality flaw of mine. I need to know. Because for some people it's the holy grail of foods, and I've never understood it.
Right.
It's just it's a personal thing.
But I might say holy cannoli every once in a while.
That's not a bad thing. And last question, what brought you joy this week?
What brought me joy this week? Well, definitely something musical. What have I been listening to? I've been sort of going back to Steely Dan records.
Oh, okay.
So, I don't know, something. And also, just even more timely, is walking out in the middle of the snowstorm.
That's
and taking a walk around the
wonderful
neighborhood
thing.
in the midst of it. And before any of the roads were plowed or anything, and just feeling for a moment like my 9-year-old self.
Yes, very nice.
Yeah.
It seems like it's been a long time since we've really had a good snowstorm.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's been years.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right, well, thank you very much for
Thank
playing
you,
my silly
Mark.
game.
My pleasure, Mark.
From the moment of our birth, we count down our time on earth. Peaks and valleys we shall roam as we walk each other home. Try to take it all in stride, step by step, side by side, steady as a metronome as we walk each other home. Days of sunshine, days of showers, we shall share them all. From the moment of our birth, we count down our time on earth. Peaks and valleys we shall roam as we walk each other home.
All right, folks, thank you once again for watching. We will be back next month with yet another talented, actually next month will be our 2023-24 retrospective. So you'll actually get to see 6, I believe, different artists that we've had in the past. All new songs that never made it into the show or onto YouTube. So that will be next month. The month after that, we'll be finding a new person to bring in and drop into your living room. Thank you once again for watching, and we'll see you then.